How do we commit ourselves to the long term in a world that's constantly changing? How do we figure out what our career path is that we can stick with, our business that we can stick with, the lifestyle that we really want to develop in the future, even though everything around us is constantly changing? How do we navigate a world of abundance rather than scarcity? That's what I want to talk about today with you in this video. We have so much opportunity out there. There is so much learning available for us out there. There's so much choice that one of the central questions we all need to work out is, given all this choice, given all this opportunity, given everything I'm seeing, how do I develop this long-term future for myself when everything is really pulling at me to be short-term? I want to talk about today some strategies for navigating that in this age of abundance. First, we need to talk about the paradox of choice. When we have so many choices, at a certain point, we start to feel paralyzed. There's so many good opportunities. There's so many paths we can go down. There's so many different careers I could work in, so many business ideas I could start. How do we actually choose and commit to something? And we see this in dating as well. With so many different people to date, well, who is right for me? You could think about this analogy almost like Netflix. There's so many different shows calling for your attention, and then an hour goes by, and suddenly you haven't watched anything. So one thing to really start to get a sense of for yourself is seeing how choice and commitment creates freedom and creates joy, even though it feels like the opposite. It feels like we want more and more choice, and yet with more choice comes more feelings of being paralyzed. One of the great fears of commitment is, if I commit to this thing, I'm going to lose my freedom. That's one of the big fears. If I commit to this thing, I'm going to lose my freedom, because as soon as I dive into that option, suddenly I've cut myself off from these other options. So a lot of people talk about optionality as well. Create a career or a business that creates optionality. I want to create a business that creates freedom for myself. I want freedom. And I do believe that we want freedom of choice. Absolutely. We want to be free to choose what is right for us, what is wrong for us. However, there's this strange thing. And again, I encourage you to sit with this a little bit and just ask the question is, what if commitment was what creates flow, joy, freedom for myself? That actually by committing to just even the one show and fully diving into that's actually what's going to bring me more joy than sitting in this frozen place of having so much choice. One way to really start to develop this ability to break the paradox of choice, and there's some good books, by the way, on the paradox of choice, but one way of breaking that paradox for yourself is inner alignment. Finding the path that's true for you, which may not be the path that's true for many other people. We get so many messages every single day on YouTube, on podcasts, on Twitter, on Instagram about what we should be doing with our time, what our morning routines should be, what our productivity should be. And with all of these different messages, if you allow yourself to be pulled in different directions by what other people say you should want, you'll start to lose your own sense of center and excitement for what it is that you want. And the practices like meditation, like journaling, like going for a long walk without your phone can help you get back to a sense of inner alignment. You can start to hear for yourself, where am I being pulled? What's actually right for me? Do I actually like that? Am I thinking that I'm supposed to like that, but I actually don't like it at all? You can start to work on building that trust and that inner sense of knowing what is right for me, what's wrong for me. Even though other people don't understand this, I find a lot of joy and excitement in this direction, so I'm going to keep pursuing that. Inner alignment and inner knowing is one of the critical skills that we need to build when there's so much information nudging us in different directions. How do we know for ourselves what is right for us? And that takes time, that takes practice to develop. Beyond that, we can learn to become more adaptable and be in the state of continuous learning. If the world is always changing, if things are always in motion, rather than setting a single goal 5, 10 years in the future, and then we just step by step are going to do everything to hit that goal. Yes, maybe you can do that. However, it's much harder to control some of those outcomes. Instead, what we can do is continuously adapt and learn based on what the moment needs, integrating things that we're learning now into what we're actually doing rather than learning for learning's sake. How are we actually bringing in new lessons and acquiring new skill sets based on what is currently relevant for us rather than some future state? A lot of learning that we did in the past through school was honestly a lot of memorization, but it was a lot of learning for some future that when are we actually going to use this knowledge? Learning was very disconnected from the actions we were taking. Anytime you can engage a mentor, a course, or a book based on the current moment you're in and then apply some of that learning, it's more fruitful and you're going to be more adaptable in today's changing world. Now, the third thing I want to talk about, which is the place for me where I find the most stability for the long term in my career, in my future, is the power of long-term relationships, the power of long-term community. Another way to break through this paradox of choice and find the long-term lifestyle you want and the long-term work you want is to commit to people. I find it's easier to commit to people in some ways than it is to commit to maybe some trend or something that's going on in the world. Build relationships that last, a community, a network, your neighborhood, some group you're a part of, the people you hire, and work with over the long run the same way that compounding returns work in finance, work in relationship. Can I compound this depth of relationship over time, and can that pay off dividends in this community that I'm in? That's really a strategy for thriving in this world, is allowing the network you're building to become more robust and strong over time, to continuously invest in the relationships that you already have, because those will continue to pay dividends for you years into the future. And even with people I work with, sometimes I will literally say, I could see ourselves working together 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, even if what we're working on is completely different. It could be a completely different business. It doesn't matter, but find those people that you can really commit to for the long run. And again, I think you'll find the joy of choice rather than feeling this lack of freedom that comes from that. So those are some strategies that I wanted to talk to you about today for thriving in this changing world, in this age of abundance. I'm curious what has worked for you, what's been a challenge for you when it relates to choosing a path for your future, or have you felt paralyzed making a choice? Or has it been easy to commit, and what has helped you with that? I'd love to hear. Feel free to leave me a comment below. I'd love to chat with you there. And as always, I'll be back again very soon.